All right, we're here with Mellow Man Ace. Hey, thanks for being here.
You're welcome, my brother. It's been long in coming, but it's good to be here. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you got it, man. So let's start from let's take it from the beginning, man. So where you from originally?
I was born in Cuba, Pinar del Rio, Cuba, which is about 300 kilometers from Havana, or some shit like that is what they say. Tobacco country, somos guajiros at birth, you know what I mean? Hardworking people, either play baseball, roll cigars, or play dominoes, you know what I mean? There's not too many options in Cuba. And I think that's why we ended up coming to the United States. But, you know, Cuban born, man, very proud of it, you know, and always try to uplift my roots, you know.
What was that relationship with your parents? How was that?
It's still very good, you know. My dad lives with me. I take care of my dad. And my mom's still alive. She's still with us as well. And I've always had a good relationship with them, except in the 70s, I think. I was a real travieso in the 70s, and I got my ass whooped a lot. But, you know, I came from a country with nothing, that had nothing, and then you see everything. So you start thinking you could just grab things, you know, put them in your pocket. And that got me in a lot of trouble when I was young, you know. But I think once I became a responsible young man and started climbing up the charts and everything, you know, that just wiped that slate clean, you know what I mean? But I was a real travieso as a kid.
So Cuba, it's hard to come out of Cuba. So how were you able to leave Cuba?
Well, we came on what's called, it was a program called Los Vuelos de la Libertad, the Flights of Liberty. And at that time, the catch-22 was that you had to have children in order to get off the island, right? So either you keep having children and you never make it, now you're deeper in debt, or one of your kids does hit the lottery, right? So when my older sister was born, her number didn't hit the lottery. When my brother Sendog was born, his number didn't hit the lottery. When I was born third, my number hit the lottery, the Cuban lottery, and I was able to get my family off the island. And this was a program in conjunction with the United States of America, the Cuban government. They wanted to Fidel wanted to get rid of people who didn't see his ideology and weren't happy with the communist regime and the party and the way they got down. So at this time, though, what's interesting is that my father, who was a teacher at the time, was stripped of his credentials, teaching credentials. He was an English, math, and physical ed teacher. And they took him away to the fields and in the sewer system. And they made him think that, listen, why would you want to go to America when these are the kind of jobs you're gonna get, right? So they tried to break his will and be like, no, you know, all right, I'll stay, you know what I mean? But my father already had a homeboy here who kept telling him, look, I went through the exact same thing. Don't believe it, I got you a job already. He would write him letters, you know. I got you a job waiting for you at Delta Airlines. And so now, remember, I'm born in 1967, and we're not able to leave until 1971. So they tried to break his will for 4 years. And my dad held strong, and you know, it's a blessing now to be able to take care of him, man. He's seen a lot, done a lot, and get caught up with those Cuban stories that he has from over there. It's a blessing. It's been a blessing for me. It's a blessing for him to be with me, you know. And so he did a lot for the family, sacrificed a lot. We came here with the clothes on our back, for real. And we turned it into something, you know. And I'm just blessed to be the one that won the Cuban lottery for my family.
What was it like growing up in Cuba when you were still there, growing up?
You know what, I was from birth to 4 years old, so the memories are very little. From what I remember, I mean, just running around the backyard naked, and it'd be hot, you know, tropical weather. And then just kind of, I remember my grandfather had this towel that if we did wrong, he'd roll it up and smack us with it. We grew up in his house. And that's kind of like the only little memories that I have, just running around the backyard. And back then, they didn't have bathrooms in the house. You had to go out back, you know, and use what was called a tibol. Tibol is basically a pan that's used for shitting. A little bit of water in it. When you're done, you throw dirt on top of it, right? And that's kind of one of those memories that I have. Very few memories, but and then in the summertime, the mosquitoes, because you're on an island, the mosquitoes are crazy. I remember one time my mother putting this cloth net over our beds, you know, so that the mosquitoes don't eat you alive, basically. But you know, man, I mean, it's the life for everybody in Cuba. You know, that life, that tropical weather, you know what I'm saying? It's no joke. It's no joke for real. But, you know, that's what it is. That's life in Cuba, you know? And so you come from that, and there's a certain pride, even still. It's very weird. And I think most of it has to come with, it comes with the fact that we're musicians, and anything Cuban or Afro-Cuban music is highly respected here in the United States. And I think that helps us to have an orgullo, a pride that, or you're a very good baseball player, Yasiel Puig, Adolis Chapman, this one, that one, you know what I mean? Jose Abreu, Yasmani Grandal, all these guys, we all come from there. And I think it helps us too to come to this country knowing that we have something to accomplish. Like, let's not just come here and just come here. There's a lot of us who really wanted to do something better. My father was already in his 30s when he got here, so he went right to work. But the life that he was able to provide for me and, let's say, my brother Sendog was, all right, you guys are first generation here. What are you gonna do with it? What are you gonna do? And we chose this music thing, and it all worked out.
I mean, you hear the numerous stories of Cuban refugees coming to America to seek freedom,
yeah,
for a better life. They even portray it in movies, you know, Scarface,
yeah,
and movies like that. So for you to be here, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, you were 4 years old, but for your dad and I mean, for all of you, it must have been you must have felt some type of way, especially your parents when they landed here. So when
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I haven't picked their brains as to what their mindset was then, but it was, let's just hit the ground, get work, get jobs, get work where we could get it, and try to provide for this family. And I'm very proud of them too, because in only 8 years they were able to buy their first home. With a lot of sacrifice. My mother working at sweatshops and costureras and shit like that. Sweatshops back in the 70s, and for low money, you know. Putting it together with my dad's Delta money, and they were able to buy a house, which is what we all know to be Cypress Hill, you know. On that street is where we honed our skills, and we took it to the world, so.
Man, so when you landed here, where did you guys move?
Well, at first in 1971, when we got here, actually we were claimed in Miami in December. In 1972, we relocate. My parents were given a choice by the U.S. government: New York, Miami, Chicago, or L.A. And the reason they chose L.A. was because there was no snow, and it wasn't the tropical heat, but the ground shook every 20 years, right? They go, we'll go there. We'll take our chances with the earthquakes. They were tired of the Cuban climate. We come west in '72 early on, and we grew up, or we were living in Florencia Hood, off of Miramani and Florence. There was a Cuban lady there from the church that we had started going to, who rented us a couple of rooms there. And up until my parents were able to find their jobs and get everybody their jobs situated, then we were able to move to Southgate, California. And it was a 2-bedroom apartment, so me and Sendog had to share the sofa bed. And man, I can tell you about the fights we had for the blanket and the pillow back then. So my father and mother had one room, and our 2 sisters now have a smaller sister who was still born in Cuba. She was 1 year old when we got here. They have the other room, and me and Sendog in the living room, right? 2-bedroom apartment. Those were some brutal years, man. A lot of arguments with outsiders, a lot of fights. Black people didn't understand how we were light-skinned brothers, had good hair, but didn't speak no English. Mexican brothers hated us because we were black and spoke Spanish, so we were fucked up every direction we went. And at that time, people didn't understand Sammy Sosa type of people yet, or Roberto Clemente, Celia Cruz type of people in the inner cities like that. And it was a lot of growing, not only for ourselves, but for those that were around us. We took on certain friends and they would wonder why we spoke fluent Spanish, but had to take ESL class, you know, to learn English. We looked black, but we spoke no English. Those were probably the toughest years for me, and I'll speak for myself on that one. But I can pretty much tell you for my brother and my sisters as well.
What's your favorite Cuban dish?
Oh, that's easy. The palomilla steak encebollado con limón, arroz con gris, which is this brown rice with black beans in it, and plátano frito. You know what I'm saying? That's my ideal Cuban dinner.
That's traditional.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Oh man, it's delicious.
So, growing up in Southgate, Southgate is a hood. It's hood out there. So when you landed in the '70s, I'm sure it was rough. So you grew up on Cypress Hill.
Well, no, we were raised younger years till 1979. So we're talking about from 72 to 79. Okay. We were in an apartment on Debo Street. And there was gutter. Because, you know, it was apartment living and everybody close quarters. And we had some good friends, though, you know, that we took on. Learned how to play football in the street and that type of shit, you know. And then in 1979 was when my parents were able to now buy their first home, and we moved to a street called Cypress Avenue. Okay. Which we would later turn into mentally in our own heads, Cypress Hill.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where it started then. When they
the only 2 original members of Cypress Hill, the street, is me and my brother Sendog. Okay. Yeah.
So when did you first start getting into music? At what age?
Well, I mean, we didn't know. Look, I'll speak for myself because my brother's not here. Neither are my 2 sisters. But for me, my sister Myra, who was the oldest, she would come home in the '70s with Isley Brother records and the Jackson 5 records, the Brothers Johnson. My goodness, a lot of the family groups, the Silvers, people like that, the Isley Brothers. And it was a beautiful thing because it started to show me like, wow, as brothers and sisters, we can actually get together, the Jackson 5 and all that, get together and start and form our own group. However, my father had me and my brother playing baseball. And since we're Cuban, that kind of came natural, right? So that's kind of what we were doing at that time. But I think my earliest musical experience was when I bought my first Isley Brothers album, the Go For Your Guns album. You had the double fold out, the Isley Brothers on stage with their instruments and like the fog machine all over the place. I believe that was 1978, 79. So I'm about 11, 12 years old at that time.
So 11, 12, you get into the music, you're playing baseball.
Yeah.
That's your sport.
But the music is calling us. I know it's calling me.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how to reply. I'm young. And from all accounts, my father always tells us, I don't want you doing music. Because my father, he's my grandfather, right? His father was a musician, played stand-up bass, and he was the leader of the Cuban military orchestra. And all my uncles are musicians, and all my cousins are musicians. So for some reason, he didn't encourage us to play music or do music. He wanted us to play baseball, you know, and had a lot of foresight, knowing that in years later, my sons could grow up to be millionaires playing baseball, right? So that was kind of how it was.
So what age was it when you finally started writing lyrics and starting your craft in the music industry?
Yeah, that would have to be 1983. I'm in high school, 10th grade in there. We had seen now the movie Wild Style in 1980 or 81 in there. And we had just seen the movie Crush Groove, right? I believe that was Beat Street or Crush Groove. One of those came out first. And I saw a bigger picture, and I was in a breakdance crew at the time called the LA B-Boys, and in that group was my boy B Real of Cypress Hill. Just a kid. At that time, his name wasn't even B Real. I believe he called himself Jeep at that time. But I saw a bigger picture, and that if we do this right, we can end up on the big screen too, you know? And so I took him out of that breakdance crew, and I kind of challenged all the B-boys that were in our crew that day. I said, look, you guys are concerned with just hitting skins, getting girls, and that. I want to go to the movie screen. So I called them out. Nobody wanted to box, not because I'm a tough guy or nothing, but I was gully like that when I was young. I was full of myself a lot. Grabbed Jeep, took him on my block, introduced him to my brother Sen, and now we starting a crew of MCing, rapping, dancing, and all that. And we started taking it very serious, you know, and realizing that this could be our ticket, you know, this could be our job if we do it right. We had examples now. See Run DMC, you know, doing TV commercials and all these types of things, movies, and that really helped us to really have I wouldn't say they gave us a blueprint, you know what I mean? They gave us a blueprint like, yo, if you do it like this, you two could end up here, you know what I mean? And if you're rhyming right and you're dope, the sky's the limit, you know? So we took time, many years early on, from 10th grade to about 87, 2 years after high school, that my first break would come on Delicious Vinyl Records. I mean, but we spent those years, you know, battling in parks, backyard parties, high school dances, Cuban clubs, social clubs that they had for us in a small community there in Southgate. There was 2 Cuban clubs, and the DJs would let us, you know, grab the mic and you know, put out these Spanish raps, you know, as dirty as they were. They say, you know, it was like a Beastie Boy video every time we went over there, because the beers were flowing, you know, we do some blow, whatever, get on the mic, blow a little weed, and then just go serve other rappers that would come trying to be like, well, where are these guys at? Where's DVX? Where's DVX at? And we battle them and we send them on their way, and then we go to Bell, Huntington Park, Linwood, whatever, Bell Gardens, and go battle. And that was kind of how we were able to get tight lyrically. Not so much entertain, but just battle and have that vigor and that fight to be better than the next guy. You know what I mean? Not so much entertain, because entertaining is different. Entertaining is and battling is way different. Entertaining is now you perfect your craft and you know what you're doing, right? But you have an entertainment value to it. So you know how to talk to the crowd, finesse the crowd, call and response, you know, these types of things, crowds participations, play a musical instrument, put it all together with a little sing and dance, and now you're entertaining. There's a big difference.
I remember the 80s. The 80s were real popular with break dancing, electric boogaloo, Beach Street, all these. Everybody was watching these movies, and break dancing, tagging on walls. It was real big in the 80s.
Yeah,
it was huge, and that's when you came out. It was very hard for a Latino to build a name at that time. Very few did it, and you were one of the few. When you guys started your group, what was the original name? What was it? Was it Cypress Hill, or was it something before that?
It was DVX, 3 letters that stood for Devastating Vocal Excellence. And from there spawned Cypress Hill. When we started adding marijuana and getting high, plus the era was changing over, and so DVX was kind of was starting to play out, you know what I mean? And so we went to, I believe, and it was, now we have a street full of fools, you know what I mean? Not just rappers or whatever. We brought DJ Muggs, we brought Julio G, who was also in a rival breakdance crew, to come DJ with us as well. And so now it's growing, and then some of the little homies on the block, they didn't break or rap or anything, but they were just our homies, and they would watch our back, you know? So now we start mixing weed to it, and so mentally we start thinking like we're above the competition, right? We're above the competition. And even though Cypress Avenue is a flat street and the city is predominantly flat, we're Cypress Hill because we're on top of the competition mentally, because we're so high. We just making this shit up as we go, right? And it's stuck. And it's stuck. So then what happens is, I don't want to get too ahead of your questions or anything, you know, stop me if. What happens is, Sendog was always trying to keep Pops happy, so he kept a job, make sure, you know, Pops stayed off his back. I started to do the same thing, and then one day I said, fuck all this, man. If I work, I won't have time to make it, right? So I did that, and he kicks me out of the house. Pops kicks me out. I go, now I'm kind of homeless, but I'm kind of living at the hood house where we all used to go party anyway, even though Cypress Ave was where we did the breakdancing on the lawn, the cardboard and everything, and we really honed our skills there. The party house was at the homie Grego's house out by Southgate Park. And that was the kind of the party house, so his mom lets me stay there. So I'm homeless, but not kind of homeless. But when you consider, you know, you're here with 5 other people from a foreign country, you're pretty fucking homeless at that time. Your dad don't want to see you. You're out of the motherfucking house, right? And so I just, you know, I just started to hang out with people and started going places. And my man DJ Muggs one day, you know, he says, you want to come to the studio with me? I'm working on this group called 783. And they got a deal on Geffen Records, and we're going to record at Delicious Vinyl Studio. I'm like, let's go. And it was there that I would meet my future bosses, Matt Dyke, rest in peace, and my man Michael Ross, who had just started Delicious Vinyl Records. And that's when shit got real, like, you know what I mean? Now here we go. That was 1987.
So who were the original members of Cypress Hill?
The original members, it goes like this. Sendog, Mellow Man Ace, Tomahawk Funk of Funk Dubious, Crazy D, who also used to be the only Mexican down with NWA, and at that time, Chili Chill, which was Jeep Jeep, which then turns his name into Be Real later, right? DJ Muggs and Julio G. It's a posse now. But Julio G was in and out. He was in and out. He had gotten a job, I remember, at UPS, if I'm not mistaken. But the ones that stayed the hungriest, I believe, was me, because me and Muggs got a deal with 783. I got a deal on Delicious Vinyl, while Be Real at the time had gone to the hood while we're, you know, he needed a place to stay that was closer than where he lived at in Gardena to be with us. So he went to the hood with our blood homeboys, and he went over there to do that. In between hip hopping, you know what I mean? He was with the Bloods over there doing that thing, and then one day he got clapped. He got shot. And that's when, you know, me and Sendog had to run down to Killer King Hospital and have the conversation with him, like, yo, man, the Paul Rodriguez people just called Mellow Man, you know, called Mellow, and they want him on the show. It's just about to get real, so stop with the street bullshit. Come back, let's get this shit right, let's get this thing going, and let's get on. It's real now, it's real, it's for real now. So next thing you know, I'm on Paul Rodriguez show, and Cristina, and Maria Ladia, Don Francisco, Soul Train, Arsenio Hall, and we start to bubble.
So at some point, you got a deal.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I had to, because remember, I'm homeless now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get back in good graces with my mom and dad. So I took the first, well, not the first, we had shopped around some little bullshit demos with some low-level crooked types. But this particular thing at Delicious Vinyls felt right to me. And since Muggs was already doing some stuff over there, I felt comfortable doing some stuff too. So now Sendog has a job, B-Real's gangbanging. I'm like, well, let's go do this, right? I got time for this, I ain't got time for this, and I ain't got time for that. And that's kind of what showed them the way, you know, like, wow, Mello's starting to do this shit. Let's get serious. Let's do the same shit he did. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how it happened.
So you jumped off first.
I jumped off first. Yeah, I had to. I had to get back in good graces, you know. And it wasn't until I came home with my first single. I knock on the door. My pops answers the door, which is crazy because he always was out. And I said, look, Pops, I'm making it in the world. Here's my first record. I present it to you. And he was like, oh my God, my son, beautiful son, come here. You're all the fucking greatest. You know what I mean? I've always believed in you. You see, motherfucker, you know what I mean? All of a sudden. And so that was my ticket back into the house. And so I just, you know, coming from another country with only 5 other people, we didn't have no cousins, no uncles, no grandparents. This is my family. And if I'm not around them, there's a kind of weirdness that happens, you know? And I was able to get back in good graces with Pops, but I think in the interim, it showed Be Real and Sendog, like, yo, Mello doing it. Let's get our shit together. Let's get these demos done. Let's come up with some ideas, you know? I was beating the Spanish thing to death, you know? And so my first single was called Mas Pingon. When I do it live in front of a lot of Mexican fans, I changed it to Mas Chingon, right? That was my first single in 1987. 2 years out of high school.
What was that first deal like?
The first deal was bullshit. I felt rich though. It was a $2,000 single deal for a single song, right? Got $2,000 and I bought me this, you couldn't tell me shit. I bought me a 1971 BMW Bavarian. That shit was a piece of shit. It ended up blowing up on the freeway, but you couldn't tell me shit at that time. You know, I was doing it.
You know, at that age, any deal seems like that's a great deal. $2,000 back in the day when you're homeless, it seems like a lot of money.
Yeah.
So when did you start figuring out that you can make a whole lot more money in the business? That $2,000 didn't last long.
I think just having that money and that $2,000, it showed me that, hey man, I can get checks rapping. You know, so let's just keep getting checks, you know? And so by the time Capitol Records shows up, I'm already like in prime entertaining condition. When I had, you know, Cypress Hill were my dancers at the time. So we were able to take that during Delicious Vinyl showcases and K-Day showcases. And we were able to tighten everything up, you know, create a live show for Mellow Man Ace. I'll be out front, Sendog and Be Real were the dancers, DJ Muggs was the DJ, right? And so when we were able to do that, that's when Capitol Records sent an agent down to San Diego State University by the name of Kenny Ortiz to come check me out. I was opening up with Tone Loc and I believe Young MC. We were opening up for Tila Rock of New York. He had a big hot record at the time called It's Yours. And that's when Capitol Records stepped to me and they said, hey, we love what you're doing with the Spanish stuff. And it just so happens that Kenny Ortiz, the rep for Capitol, was like myself. He was an Afro-Cuban. And I was like, yo, I hope you're not bullshitting, you know what I mean? Because what are the chances that Afro-Cuban is working at Capitol Records? And sure enough, obviously, he sets up a meeting for us that Monday at Capitol. Me and my people at Delicious go in. They say, hey, we want to buy out his contract from you. Delicious Vinyl at the time needed the money to be able to press up more Tone Loc records, who was now starting to bang on the radio with his song, it was either Chiba Chiba or
Funky Cold Medina.
Funky Cold Medina, one of those. So they needed to press up more units anyway. So they used the Mellow Man Ace deal at Capitol money to flip, I'm sure, those Tone Loc singles. And next thing you know, Wild Thing comes out and it's the biggest thing in the world. And then we were able to flip the Carlos Santana thing into the Mentirosa single, and now Mentirosa's like crazy. So everybody, that first school of Delicious Vinyl artists, Young MC, Tone Loc, myself, we're still out here. Major hit records, classics, we're still out here.
How'd you come up with the song Mentirosa, and did you know that it was gonna be a hit?
I came up with the concept based off of a girlfriend early on that I had in high school, and things got real funky there, and so I wrote about it, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And then, no, I didn't know that it was gonna become a big hit. In fact, I didn't really like the record because of the slow cadence that it forced me to use. Check this out, baby. Tenemos tremendo lío. Last night you didn't go. And it's very basic, right? But what I've learned in having hindsight and using my hindsight later on is like, when you're first introducing something so different as a bilingual rap style that had never been done before, it was important for the youngest of fans to understand what you're doing and the oldest of fans to understand what you're doing. So as the years have gone by, it has helped me to understand, like, the simplified version of that, the slow cadence, is what drew you in the first place. The storytelling part of it was second, right? And lo and behold, would you know that now that writing style of mine is taught in universities across the country. And it's been such an amazing ride that I couldn't have thought it out any better, you know. But no, I had no idea that it would become a hit record. And the only reason we knew we had a hit record is one day we were working, we were working out, myself and Julio G, at his mom's house in Linwood. We got Power 106 on the radio. We lifting weights, and Make It or Break It comes on. And it's my song against Janet Jackson. By the end of, they start going, okay, what's up? Who are you? I'm Joe from Linwood. Yo, we like that Mellow Man Ace. He hangs up. The next caller, hello caller, who are you voting for? Mellow Man Ace or Janet Jackson? Hi, this is Teresa from Bell. We love Mellow Man Ace. Next thing you know, it's like, oh snap. We listening to the radio, right? We lifted weights, we looking at each other like, okay, that's crazy, but let's hold up. It's only Monday. The next day is battling the New Kids on the Block. Same thing, people call in, Mellow Man Ace all day. Oh yeah, we love Mellow Man Ace, Mentirosa, ciao. They hang up and shit like that. The fans are calling, make it for Mellow Man Ace, So next day is against Madonna. And people calling, Mellow Man Ace, left and right. And that's when we knew, like, we got a hit record and we're going on tour. When it beat Madonna, New Kids, and Janet, we knew, like, whatever they throw at us tomorrow, we got this, And the next thing you know, I forgot who was that fourth day, and we beat them too, and the phone started ringing.
You were like at the top of the charts, man.
Top of the charts, yes.
Mentirosa was a hit.
Yeah.
How long after that did you start going on tour?
It was immediate. It was immediate. I think the phone started. That was late August of 1990. By September, we were already booked into the next year for the next 2 years. Yeah.
Who'd you go on tour with?
Oh my goodness, I've toured with everybody from. My first official tour was the Stevie B tour, the Power Tour, with the Cover Girls, Kid Frost, Candyman. Stevie B was the headliner, and Taylor Dane. So it was like a mixture of rap and freestyle music at the same time. And then from there, I mean, I've toured with everybody from Celia Cruz, Jose, Air Supply, just weird blends of music. I've toured with, you know, Lighter Shade of Brown and you name it, you know, Lisa and Zap Band. I remember when Roger was alive, you know, and he would have me come on the tour bus and listen. He had a full studio at the back of the bus, you know, so being able to tour with Roger and Zap, those were memories that I'll never forget, you know. And Gat Band, Uncle Charlie, when we come off the tour, he'd invite me over to his place and we go hang out. Those were amazing times, you know what I mean? Daz Band, you name it, SOS Band, you know, Midnight Star, you know, it's just been a beautiful run, you know.
So going on stage for the first time, Mello.
Yeah.
Very first time. In front of all these people. What's going through your mind when you're stepping up to the stage?
Well, at that time I was young and full of myself. So it was like, let's go get it, you know. You know, it was let's go. What are we doing? There's nothing to talk about here. Hey, get your dance steps ready. Make sure you're tight. I'm coming out. I'm gonna blast these motherfuckers. That was the attitude. Whereas, you know, you're 21, 22, full of vigor and hunger, and you just want to get money doing what you love. That was the attitude. Now it's more of, hey, you know, 32 years later, it's more of a job, and there is no after party. It's let's be smart about this money that we just made. Let's make sure it makes it all the way home. You know what I mean? There is no strip club for Mellow Man Ace anymore. You know what I mean? Like, we want to be responsible. I take care of my father now, so I want to be responsible. Flip my businesses, my wine business, my concert series business, and do all these other things as well as be on the golf course. So it's more about a job now, and I know it might sound, you know, boring, but you know, at some point you have to grow up and make sure that you're doing the right thing, right? And making sure that you're investing some of the money that you make.
You got to set yourself up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, at your prime, you're doing the concerts, you're on tour, you're doing your thing.
Yeah.
I mean, were you, I mean, did you get introduced to groupies where you have a problem with getting women, were women just everywhere? Because this is, you know, I mean, with the popularity that you had at the time with Mentirosa and everything, yeah, there were a lot of women that liked that. And how was it for you, man?
I mean, that's something that you're just not ready for. You know, when you come up in your small city and you're just trying to talk to the girls in your city, that's one thing. But then when you have a hit record, is you don't need no rap for the ladies. It's just show up. The hit record is the rap. You know what I mean? And so, of course, man, the groupies were many. I think in my first year, you know, 300 different groupies. You know what I mean? Like, and that's low. That's low for some rappers, you know. And it was what it was supposed to be, and nobody could. There's no blueprint for this. There's no schooling. You just got to learn it. And at that time, I remember the AIDS epidemic was really starting to come into play. And Magic Johnson had got AIDS, and Eazy-E had got AIDS, contracted AIDS. And so there was a time period there where we as rappers we were out there. And so there was, you know, times where our road managers and bodyguards would have to give speeches at the after party. Okay, we want to thank everybody for coming out, hanging out with the group. And if you want to stay and party for real, this is where we're going to ask you to tell your boyfriend to get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the fuck on. And the girls would stay back, and relationships were broken because of that. Oh no, I'm staying. And the homeboy would be like, oh hell no, fuck that shit, I'm going back to the car, fuck you motherfuckers, you know? And so you get that. And you know, it's all part of it. It's all part of it. Was it fun? Hell yes, of course. You know, multiple women at one day and all these other things. Who's not gonna like that at first? Especially when you're 20, 21, 22, right? So, but I think later on as you grow into your 30s and it's still there, only your mind is changing and you're like, you know what, I already did that. Let's start falling in love and let's try to build a family and raise some children, you know? So my first son is born and now my second son is born. And so, you know, now you start thinking like more of a father figure and your boys are still calling, yo man, I got bitches over here. The other homeboy, yo, I got 14 bitches over here, they want to meet you, you know what I mean? And you're like, nah, man, I'm really trying to give this family thing a shot, you know what I mean? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, man. But, you know, sometimes they say that old habits die hard, you know what I mean? And so you just got to make sure that what you're trying to accomplish is the goal that you stay on, you feel me?
Was it everything that you imagined it to be?
And then some. For me, I mean, because I had a bilingual record and the success of that first album was introducing the Spanish and English combination of things, I was working in the mainstream marketplace as well as the Latino market. So I'm doing everything that's mainstream Latino, everything that's Arsenio Hall, Good Morning America, all these things, everything that's mainstream America as well. So, and at any given weekend, I could be in 4 different time zones. And when you've worked that hard and you're in that many time zones from a Friday to a Sunday, it could take a toll on you, you know? And like I said, we were on tour for 2 straight years. Straight, nonstop. So that could take a toll on you, and it did on me, absolutely.
So I see that you're a cigar and wine connoisseur. When did you get into the wine business?
I got into the wine business. Myself and Rodney O were doing a concert. We got booked to perform in Napa Valley, 2020, New Year's coming into 2020. And I remember the concert promoter there asked me, what do I want to drink in and bring in the new year with? And I said, I want a bottle of red wine. And he kind of laughed at me like, you know, and I'm like, yo, what's the matter? Is that funny to you, you know? And he's like, no, you know, it's just that most rappers that come here, they want Hennessy or Cavassier, Patron, Don Julio, this and that. I said, nah. And I broke it down to him, I pulled him over, I said, no, you know, in 2017, I had a heart attack. And so my doctor said I should drink red wine and stay away from the hard stuff. And he says, well, shit, man, you're in wine country. Why don't you start your own wine? And long story short, I was like, okay. And I did. And that was the start right before COVID kicked in. And it's been hard trying to get the company up during such a devastated time in America where we're going through this coronavirus pandemic. But I think, you know, I want to thank my rap fans and certain friends and family members that have all supported the brand because it's growing, you know, and it's a great 4 flavors. I started with just 2 flavors with the Merlot was my first one, and I added the Moscato, and then as we grew, I added 2 more flavors, Cabernet Sauvignon and the Pinot Grigio. And everything, I wanted everything to be a part of me. So like the Merlot is called the Mellow Merlot. And then the Moscato is the Mellow Moscato. The The Pinot Grigio is the Padrino Pinot Grigio because they call me the Godfather, right? And then the Cabernet is dedicated to the birth year of hip hop, 1973. So it's the 1973 Cabernet Sauvignon. And all of them have a different blend of flavors and different aging processes that, you know, I thought were important to have in such an endeavor. You know, you want things to be a little bit different. A lot of the processing and knowing the difference between a red wine and a white wine, whereas your red wine is more of a dinner wine, right? And steak, veal, you know, chicken parmesan, that type of thing. To your white wine is more of a dessert wine, you know, cake and pastries and things of that nature. And knowing the difference, you know, that was important to me to learn. The ingredients, the different kinds of fruits and the hints of flavors that we wanted to put in it was important to me. So I would try everything before we actually bottled it up and you got it, you know what I mean? So, and I'm either gonna sell the company because it has a lot of sweat equity in it now, or just wait for the right deal to come. And that's where we're at.
You mentioned having a heart attack in 2017.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Oh, man. It was bugged out. I mean, one day I felt the pain on my chest, and the next thing you know, I fell down. And my girl at the time drove me to the hospital, and I went under the procedure of the angioplasty, which is a procedure where they enter through your leg in here, and they go up and they spray a dye into your heart area, and they're able to see which artery is the blocked one. And then they'll go into that artery, put a balloon in it, a little mini balloon, separate the blockage, and then the blood starts to flow through it again and the oxygen to the brain. So that's what it was. And I was treated very well in the White Memorial Hospital, and the staff down there was really like amazing. They even put like a star on my door, like, don't bother him. You know what I mean? We got a celebrity here today. They put a star, like nobody bothered me. I was like, man, when are people gonna come take my temperature or something, you know? And it's amazing to me how fast they can get you back out on the street nowadays after such a procedure. Because I was out, and I think the day after, 2 days after, you know, I'm back on the street. And I just want to thank the whole staff down at White Memorial Hospital. Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, the scary part was falling and not knowing why. Like, I blanked out from 1 second to the other. I'm sitting on the car door in the seat like this, and next thing you know, I'm just gathering myself up, like, why am I at the bottom of the car? You know what I mean? And you don't know what happened in between. Come to think of it, after I had a big scrape on my head, and I had a concussion, because my head hit the pavement. So that was a crazy ordeal, man, you know? Not one that I want to ever feel again, you know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it must have been a scary situation.
Yeah.
It's unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, I was, 50 years old, you know, at the time. And you just don't see yourself, you know what I mean, in that. But I had a terrible diet at the time. You know what I'm saying? I had a terrible diet. I ate red meat 3 times a day. Bacon and sausage in the morning, ground beef or chicken or whatever it was, ribs in the afternoon, ribs, pizza, whatever, hot dogs in the night, you know what I mean? And so I had to clean all that up, you know? I had to clean all that up. To the point, I wouldn't say I'm vegetarian or anything, you know what I mean? But I think only in the morning times do I eat now like a small portion, like of a small sausage. And then the rest of the day I try to avoid red meat, you know, because the artery blockages that are inside some of these pumped up animals, which is why they pump them up in the first place with the hormones. Well, those hormones go right to the heart and block your arteries and stuff like that. So it's important for us as black and brown people to understand this, that this is being done to us, you know, before it's too late.
As we get older, it's harder for us to stay healthy. You know, it's
Yeah, and for us, I mean, look, a lot of us have families where we're doing the carne asada for everything. We have to stay mindful when we get there, you know, to sometimes not partake, maybe get the salad, get the beans with the rice, and kind of leave it right there because we don't know what's happening internally until it's too late.
absolutely. I agree 100%. What are the plans for Mellow Man Ace down the line?
You know what, man? I really don't plan things. I'm one of those live for today type of people. I'm one of those, let's win today. And if we wake up tomorrow, let's try to win tomorrow. I'm not one of those plan ahead guys unless it's for a concert, right? Concert promoters will call me. Okay, when's the concert? 6 months from now. Great, we'll put it on calendar. And now we know we have something to look forward to 6 months from now. But that's really the only thing I'm really like, I plan out, you know. Everything else is a vibe. It's a frequency. It's an energy that I get from people, friends, buddies, golf buddies, whatever. If you want to play golf, hit me up. Let's go. Right? It's very simple. If there's a party going on wherever, I'll pull up. You know, I'm one of those kind of guys. Like I don't really plan that. Now, if you're asking, well, what about your death, man? When you're gonna plan, do you have a plan there? I'm like, yes, we do. We have, you know, of course, I have a life insurance agent and all these other things that we talk about that there, and that final day will be taken care of. You know what I mean? But I'm not looking forward to that one. Not looking forward to that one.
Any positive message that you want to give to the people that are trying to become something, maybe an artist, maybe a sports athlete? Any words of wisdom?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, anything that you want, you got to go hard for it. Perfect your craft. When somebody else is out playing or at a party, be working. And you most definitely got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you have the power to move mountains and move energies to be in the right place at the right time. Take it from me, I'm a Cuban refugee. I came here with nothing, and I'm comfortable in my own skin at 55 years old, and happy to tell you that I'm the godfather of Latinos in hip hop. If I could do it, you could do it too.
Mello, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate you. Wish you nothing but the best of luck.
You got it. Nothing but love.